Salam and welcome to the halftime show on Pulse 95 Radio. Coming up on the show today, a medical doctor who specializes in losing body fat and increasing muscle mass, and someone that has been in the fitness industry for a while now and looks to do more in sports medicine. Dr. Azri Zakaria will be on the show today, and we're going to be picking his brain on how to improve our relationship with nutrition. We're also going to be talking about tracking, we're going to be talking about calories, and also that question that everyone's asking: how do men and women lose body fat? All that and more on the only place to be at 3, the halftime show on Pulse 95 Radio. Salam and welcome to the halftime show on Pulse 95 Radio with your boy Omar Duri, live in the heart of Sharjah. I did say on the show we always push above our weight, and we get asked a lot of questions about how do you manage to get the best of the best around the world to come on your show. Well, as I said in the intro, Dr. Azri Zakaria is here and he is with me on the halftime show. Dr. Azri, welcome to the show.
Welcome, Sam. Thank you very much for having me on. Very much appreciate the invite. And once again, absolutely very, very impressed actually with everything that you've set up so far with Pulse 95.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Now, what's impressive is your journey, and those that follow you will see the incredible journey you've been on personally, which has also helped you inspire thousands of people, right? Tell us a bit more about your journey and how you came about to reaching the heights that you've reached so far.
Of course. So initially I was heavily overweight. So I was around 97 kilos, roughly 5'9", 10, around there. And then it just got to a point where everything was creeping up on me. The actual health concerns, I just didn't fit in my clothes anymore. And then I was just out of breath trying to walk to places. And it was, of course, one of the bigger things was actually just not feeling good. I couldn't actually take my shirt off, which isn't the best for most guys, I would say. And it was just getting a bit embarrassing. And then, of course, I decided to actually make quite a drastic change. I tried absolutely everything for years. So, the whole restrictive diets, the keto, extremes with intermittent fasting, although I do think it has some benefits, but, cutting out the sugar, the carbs, and then assuming that was, the ticket out, the journey to lose the fat. And that's all I had to do. The endless hours of cardio, none of it worked. I was still overweight, and as much as people would like to say, you do just need to stay consistent with this and this and this, but realistically I just didn't know the underlying evidence behind exactly what causes fat loss. So in the end, I figured it out. I actually ran into the truth about what I was actually doing around calorie intake, output, being in a deficit, and then lost 21 kilos. Been maintaining that for the past 3.5, 4 years now. So that's where I actually have my energy back from now. Honestly, the productivity, everything with med school, only managed it through that with being in reasonable shape, being able to perform mentally as well.
What was your aha moment, because you said that you tried endless amount of things. What was the moment where you thought, what, this is something I need to do, and this is how I'm going to do it?
Right. So the thing is, I noticed that everyone that was trying to push out information and all the influence online, the social media space is huge right now. Everyone that was trying to push it out were already in incredible shape or started in a shape that I would actually like to have been in. So it was always people I saw that were, let's say, genetically elite and had a very, very good starting point that were pushing out methods as to what you should do. Just go train 5-6 times a week. That's all you need to do. And then cut out the carbs and then you'll drop the weight. Although that might work for a lot of people with a good amount of discipline, willpower, I just knew I wasn't going to stick to anything long-term with discipline or willpower. It just wasn't a sustainable approach for me. So then I realized if I have cut out all the carbs and I'm still not losing the weight, then what is there else to do? Why is the fat not coming up? Why do I still have belly rolls? And then I was like, okay, let me actually do some research. I'm in medicine, I'm sure I'll be capable of doing nutritional research, and then studied nutrition for a fair few years after that as well. But then I actually figured out more of an energy balance equation, which is you need to eat less calories than you burn for you to lose weight. And that is the essential premise around every single diet that you see out there. every single thing, the base level is always calories. Everything that stacks on top, protein, the carbs and macronutrient, the meal timings, all of this comes on top of that. You cannot lose weight without that in place in the first place. Not saying that the other things aren't important or can be optimized, but that just has to be the base for anything to occur.
One of the things that you did to improve yourself from a physical and a mental point of view was improve your relationship with nutrition. How does one improve their relationship with nutrition in order to get these goals and understand what goes in versus what comes out?
That's a very, very good question. So essentially, improving your relationship with nutrition is not labeling foods as good or bad. When you stop looking at foods as to being just this is unhealthy and this is healthy, then you'll realize there's a lot more to foods themselves, because foods that you may deem as, let's say, healthy, that people would love to say that they're on a diet eating, salads, the avocados, the peanuts, all of these, although they may have your healthy fats that people love to push out there on social media, everything else, and it looks great on a day in the life of eating, it simply is a lot more calorically dense and easier to overeat on and overconsume calories on average with. So when you stop looking at it as good and bad, and you look at it as what fills me up the most for the least amount of calories that tastes 80% as good as what I was already eating, then you realize there's a lot more to it, like recipes with whey, which hit your protein intake. Protein is the most satiating macronutrient, will fill you up more. And then you look at each of these foods, and then you can use apps like MyFitnessPal to actually track them in, see what's actually in there. And then you realize this I can feel full and satisfied in, and keeps me in a caloric deficit, which is less than what you need and less than what you actually burn. And I can maintain this in the long run with ease, and I can have my snacks here and there, and it still averages out in a deficit. So that was the more mental shift, I would say.
Brilliant. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we're back, we've got more Dr. Azri on Pulse 95 Radio. Salam and welcome back to the halftime show on Pulse 95 Radio. Remember, you can catch all of our episodes on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, or if you prefer a visual, head over to our YouTube channel, Pulse 95 Radio. We got superstars like this guy right here, Dr. Azri, on the show. Just before we took that break, he dropped a teaser in there. He spoke about tracking, and he mentioned MyFitnessPal. And for those that don't know, one of the things in terms of accountability is tracking yourself and what you're doing in terms of measuring your food, seeing what goes in. We spoke about calorie deficit. But what I want to ask you, Dr. Azri, is what's the easiest way to hold yourself accountable without feeling overwhelmed when it comes down to your nutrition?
That's a brilliant question. So first things first, one thing you can do is literally in your notes app, write down what you eat when you eat it. Then the next level up, so you know what you're eating and what's inside of it, is using an app like MyFitnessPal, Chronometer. Just you can download that pretty much anywhere. Then you'll realize how much protein, carbs, calories are in there. And instead of using it as like a tool where you feel you're tied down into and you have to do to lose weight, if you look at it as, you know, I need to do this for 2-3 days, so roughly I know what I'm eating on average. And then you can simply reduce the portions of those meals within that, and you know you're eating less calories. And then you can go back and look at which foods do I like and filled me up the most. Where can I make some substitutions? Because a lot of the calories, even when tracking, people do mistake for these hidden calories, like the oils, the sauces. I wouldn't say hidden, but like those small snacks which are easy to overeat on as well. That's what actually adds up. And then the easy stuff, making the switches from, let's say, fatty meats to lean meats, whether it's red meat, steaks and all of this, to chicken breast, and then higher protein lean sources like egg whites, turkey breast, whatever it is. And then the fibrous foods, which actually fill you up, the vegetables, the fruits. Those are the easy things that you can do to instantly switch stuff out, even 0-calorie sources. So, you know, UAE has a very, very good supply of nearly everything that you can want for to be on a very sustainable diet, let's say.
Brilliant. And for those that haven't used apps before, how much of it is an eye opener, you know, when you end up actually putting your food in there and seeing what the calories are compared to what you thought, that's just a piece of fruit, or that's just a source of carbohydrates or a source of protein or even fat. How much of an eye opener is that when you actually start tracking for the first time?
For me, it was huge. We've had close to 1,000 clients now. For every single one of them, it was probably the biggest thing that changed the course of their eating and their eating habits, which inevitably led to the 20-30 kilo plus in weight loss, right? But the main thing is the actual accountability behind it. What's measured is the easiest way to actually adjust and course correct from, because a lot of people have this misconception that they just need to be on this diet for the next 8 weeks and that's it. Unfortunately, that's not how your body works. As your body changes, it may not be the same 2 weeks down the line, 3 weeks down the line. So you still need to adjust. And without that data, it's very hard to adjust. You can guess, but then this is where people get into like a plateau, stop losing weight, get frustrated, binge, the cravings build up, and then they overeat and they put the weight back on. And then there's just this endless looping cycle where psychologically, it's just not brilliant, when could have been fixed very early on by 5 minutes a day of inputting some foods into an app, right? So same with weight. The only two metrics that you need, your calorie intake, your weight, and what you look like in the mirror as well. And then you have pretty much a very, very bulletproof formula to fat loss.
Love that. Bulletproof formula to fat loss. That's your caption right there for this segment. Let's take a quick break and we'll be right back with more after this break. Salam and welcome to the Halftime Show. And if you're wondering what I missed out on, where can I catch all the episodes? Well, they're all available on podcast because we've got Dr. Azri Zakaria here on the show. And if you haven't followed his content already, it is wicked. He's doing a great job and really influencing people in the right way regarding health and fitness. His content is on point. And I have to give a special thank you to Ala, who's a school friend who's based in Saudi, and really sent me his profile and said, Omar, you need to speak to him. You guys are going to connect. And he's actually speaking to us now from Bulgaria, for those that don't know. We've never had anyone from Bulgaria chatting to us live. And this is now him right here on your screens. Dr. Azri, got to thank you for that. And also got to tell you that with all the stuff you're doing and pushing out that message there and creating awareness on it, it is so refreshing, having been in the industry for over 2 decades, to see someone like yourself come in and make such a positive change on what's happening out there. People are asking, okay, he's told us about tracking. He's told us about improving our relationship with nutrition, but what kind of foods can we consume that are within our caloric deficit? And a lot of people have different needs depending on their bodies and genetics, etc. What I want to ask you is, I saw your content and you had this one clip where you were talking about meals under 500 calories. Can you give us some ideas or some examples on what sort of meals that they could be having to stay within their calorie deficit?
Okay, that's a brilliant question. Once again, thank you very much for the kind words. And the main thing that you want to look at when you're trying to structure out the meals is how much protein can I get in for the least amount of calories? So instantly you want to lean for those, the leaner protein options. So your egg whites, people are very scared of using whey protein, by the way. Not too sure why, but whey, even mixing it up with a tiny bit of water and then putting it in the microwave for 45 seconds, most people don't know, turns into cake. Very, very nice snack to have. But in terms of structuring a meal, if you have, let's say, a handful of half of vegetables of your choice, pick one, your favorite one, and then a lean chicken breast sauce is a good idea, or egg whites, as I mentioned, or turkey breast. If you don't like those, fish as well, white fish, tuna, I don't know people like that, but those are great options, lowest in calories for the amount of protein as well. And then I would recommend using a 0-calorie or a low sugar sauce. So you have the ketchup, which is 50% reduced. Those are the lower calorie options. And season it how you like so you can actually make it taste good and you want to eat it again and again. So I personally prefer vegetables like cauliflower, I like broccoli, I like cabbage. I like these ones. You can add in your carrots, your cucumbers. If you look up a list of vegetables with the calorie options, there you go. And then you use your, let's say, grill your options with the foods. I use a 1-calorie fry light oil spray instead of the actual liquid itself because less calories as well. And then the main idea is you're going to eat more volume that fills you up so you don't build up cravings and then blame yourself for getting cravings at night and then binging, and then you have this constant loop again, right? So this, as well as another meal I like having, is frozen berries with whey on top as well. That's another one I have quite often as well. And then The easy ones, if you have like an air fryer, even I quite like sweet potato fries. I quite like having even boiled potatoes, the most satiating vegetable technically as well on satiety index. And then the snacks as well. People don't realize you can snack and you can still enjoy yourself as well. The low calorie chocolate bars is a good option to keep your cravings away. There's 60, 70 calorie ones. Look on the shelves, look on the calories. And then you remember, you don't have to lean for whatever is green or organic or bio or vegan or promoted as healthy. You can stick for options that you very much like as well. And I should say one of the first points I should have mentioned is actually more the psychological issue around this as well. People start fighting themselves before they make any progress in the first place. They start blaming their age, their metabolism, their hormones. They start saying they don't have the time, all of this, right? Because they feel they need to go train for hours and hours or do endless hours of cardio. Yes, strength training is good. Yes, resistance training is good. But you do what you can, and then you focus. If you're plainly trying to lose fat, lose the weight, you focus on what you can control, and then you actually make some progress towards that, and then somehow you will manage to find time as well. So it's just a matter of really fixing up the actual psychological issue around it and building those habits on top of that.
Interesting. Also, for those that are listening in that heard you talk about whey and stuff, you can also use plant-based if they are lactose intolerant and stuff like that. Would you recommend things like that as well?
100%. A vegan whey source is brilliant, and then even a whey isolate, slightly more filtered, less lactose as well. Awesome. And
something else which we get caught up in, myself included, is when we go to the supermarket, the grocery store, and we're not sharp with our food labeling. What's your take on that? Because the marketing behind some of these products are so good, man, that they deceive us, whether it's colors, whether it's shapes, whether it's drawings. What's your take on the food labeling aspect of trying to pick the right product?
Yeah, so one big tip, don't go shopping when you're hungry. It's the easiest way to overshop, let's say. And then the other thing is, if you literally just I would actually do this. I would actually look at the kind of plan that you would like to eat, the foods that you would like to eat, input it into MyFitnessPal, look at the calories in there, then just have a plan of action. Especially in the UAE, you have apps like Noon, you have these food delivery apps. It's quite easy to just have a shopping list and try to stick with similar foods as often as possible. And don't fall for the marketing. Don't fall for, it's in the green section, that must mean it's healthy. That's not really how it works. Just turn it around, look at how many calories per 100 grams, how many grams are in this box, and then if that's within like a good limit with a decent amount of protein in it, that's probably a good option if it's a protein source that you're going for. The rest, stick with the fruits, vegetables, and if you're going for carbohydrate sources, make sure you know what you're actually cooking and preparing for those meals as well. When it's rice, when it's pasta, and remember, cooked weight, dried weight, different. So all of these small factors that you will pick up over time simply from inputting it into an app and realizing what's actually in there is probably the easiest habits to pick up, I would say.
And a great point before we take a break there that you've mentioned, and you mentioned it very, very subtly, because like that's who you are, right? But you said cooked or uncooked is very, very different. And that's what a lot of people also, they end up purchasing the product, bringing it home, putting it on the scale, the food scale, and then going, right, that's my amount. But obviously after it gets cooked, it's a lot different.
100%. So definitely look at the conversions between cooked and dry weight. Make it easier for yourself, track it in dried weight, and then cook that amount. I understand with people with families are trying to cook larger amounts. Try and even it out properly, and then just look at the numbers behind it. It will do you more good in the long run, especially when you'll get used to the numbers in the short run, and then you can be 90% accurate in the future.
Brilliant. All right, we got one more segment coming up. I can't believe it's almost full time on the halftime show, but hey, listen, I might try and bring him into the studio when he comes into town. Just letting you guys know. Salam and welcome to the halftime show, the fourth segment and the final segment of the day. But seeing that the halftime show is an award-winning show, we have to bring on the best of the best. And Dr. Azri has been very, very helpful in coming on the show. Despite being in Bulgaria, he is here on the halftime show. And one of the questions that I'm sure he gets asked a lot, and we are going to ask him again one more time, is how do men and women lose belly fat? I've seen it on all over your content. I've seen it all over social media. When they ask you that, and I know we all have our answers, but when they ask you that specifically, what is your response to that?
The first thing I have to say is I hate to break it to everyone. You cannot spot reduce fat. You can't lose face fat. You can't lose chest fat. You can't lose your arm, legs fat. You cannot spot reduce a certain area of fat. So the only way is to lose overall fat over a longer period of time, and eventually it will come off the belly. There is nothing stopping you from storing it in a certain place, and that's impossible to get off. It's just a matter of sustainability with what you're doing, which is why I'm trying to push more of a sustainable route instead of an extreme route, because 90% of the people who aren't athletes, who aren't super motivated, super individuals, need something that they can stick to for the long run around their busy schedules, around their lifestyles, which is very, very much expected. So when you're able to stick to something for a reasonable period of time and make the right adjustments along the way, you will 100% lose the belly fat. There is absolutely no one that can't. So regardless of it being maybe one of the last areas to go for you, it very much genetically predisposed as to exactly where you lose fat from, but that doesn't mean you cannot lose fat. So I thought the same thing myself for years. Most of my clients who are in their 40s, 50s, 60s as well have said the same thing for 10, 20 years to themselves, until they stick to an approach which they're able to maintain sustainably across a longer period of time. And then suddenly they don't have an issue around genetics or hormones or metabolism, whatever it is anymore. And they also don't have to do the 1,000 hours of cardio, which they thought they did have to do. So very much a matter of maintaining a caloric deficit for a long enough period of time.
And with sustainability comes time, and with time comes practice. So when they ask you how much time do they need, because everyone's looking for a quick fix, but obviously you're focused on the journey as well as the destination, what do you say to them when they say that?
Very much individual dependent. So for example, if you're starting 50 kilograms overweight, then it's going to be completely different to someone who has, let's say, 10 kilos to lose. But the thing is, I always say it's usually longer than you think. So what most people do is, they try and stick to something for 8, 12 weeks, and then they're upset at themselves because they still have some excess fat, when maybe for them, it was that 5-6 month mark. So that image of the person digging for gold and they're just near the end and then they miss out, but the other person makes it. So it's pretty much the exact same case for most people. And then that's where making sure what you're doing from the start is something you can maintain in the long run is super, super important. The foundation set out are very important from the beginning.
Brilliant. Also, with everything that you're doing at the moment now, and I also saw that you were looking to specialize in sports medicine as well. That's something that's quite coming up. What's coming up for you these days?
So a fair bit coming up. So yes, specializing in sports medicine. I have the company. I have a strong team right now as well. So health coaching company as well. We have a good team of 19 people now as well. So of course, managing that as well. And then a bit of travel at the moment. So just, as I mentioned, got back from Italy, then now Bulgaria, and then Portugal in a few days. But back to Dubai, back to UAE, where the weather is hopefully turning up from the floods. But, we do love the country. So a fair bit going on as well. So sports medicine, just most logical next step in medicine itself.
And where can we follow you if we don't follow you already?
So mainly on Instagram, Azri.Zakaria, that's AZRI.ZAKARIYA. YouTube as well, same, it's my name, Azri Zakaria. And that's where I guess I'm most active on right now.
And you have some really, really good content out there. So make sure you check that out, guys. It took us a while to get here, but we got here in the end. I really appreciate you taking the time to speak to us. And I look forward to meeting you in person when you come out here.
Very much looking forward to it. Thank you so much for having me on, and very much appreciate it.
My pleasure. Guys, that is full time on the halftime show, but don't worry, you can catch the full episode on YouTube Pulse 95 Radio. And also when we upload it on the Instagram, we will also tag Dr. Azri so you can get to see him as well on the show. Guys, take care from us. We'll see you later.